Well, good morning, everyone. This is Lowell Ann. Welcome to my experiment. I've been thinking about the possibilities of doing a mastermind hangout as a hangout on air, as opposed to just a straight hangout where everybody joins in. So just by way of introduction this morning, I'd like to sort of say a little bit about what I do, and I see that Anthony's with us, and we'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself as well. So in my work style, lifestyle coaching work, I just love helping solo entrepreneurs find direction, stay motivated, and build some systems that both support and promote their business. And one support that I really like to emphasize for them is the Google Plus experience. Here we are on Google Plus. Two places to begin are this Mastermind Hangout, being your own CEO, and a three-part beginners program, Beginners Google, that I do locally here. And my business is called Work Style Lifestyle Consulting. And I have a new website, as you can see on the screen here. It's called simply lowelland.com. So head on over there and find the resources page and access the new ebook that I've posted there called Guide for Procrastinators. So welcome, Anthony. You just popped in here. What would you like to say about your business?
I just popped in, yes. Popping in and popping out, that's my thing. Yeah, well, it's good to see you, Lolan. You look great.
Thank you.
I'm an author, and I used to be a communication professor before I retired. And I'm a specialist in law of attraction, life design, personal motivation, and so I do online coaching, online training. I have a couple of books on Amazon. I have a YouTube channel that's got about, I think, close to 100 videos on it. So in some ways, we're in the same business. And I did my very first live Google Hangout on air last Friday. It was very interesting. You know, before I knew it, it was uploaded on YouTube and it was live, and people were starting to watch it. So that was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that's you're touching on what I made reference to a few minutes ago. Traditionally, for I guess the last year and a half, I've been doing masterminds, just doing a straight hangout where everybody just dropped in, etc. And there were some suggestions from people that it would be nice to be able to participate or listen in if they're not available at that specific time or whatever. So I decided to try a hangout on air. Mm-hmm. And you're right, the hangout on air gets recorded and uploaded automatically to YouTube. And I also have a YouTube channel, and there are quite a few interviews there with other entrepreneurs, and a little series that I call Embrace Aging, and so it's a really neat connection. I see we have Nathan with us this morning. You just popped in at the right time. So how would you like to introduce yourself, Nathan?
Vagabond Traveler.
Vagabond Traveler. Love it.
It was rather spontaneous. It was the first thing that came to mind.
Well, I might say that I know that Nathan does quite a bit of writing and has a very interesting blog, etc. So he's being very modest here this morning. But I'd like to get us started, because I'm conscious and know that by looking at the event page, that there are some people on the outside watching, and I want to acknowledge them. I see that Heather Hamilton is there, And Susan Shangle said that she would like to be watching. And Nancy, boy, Nancy, I'm gonna murder your name, I think. Nancy Consilia Gurish. So I welcome them as well. And so I know that they're here because most likely they're kind of interested in this experiment, whether you can do a mastermind on Hangout on air. I'm still not certain about that. I'm never sure who's going to join in, and that's a little bit different from doing a planned Hangout on air. So it's still an experiment. But we were going to talk about creating relationships online, how to do that, and I guess I would want to begin by sort of exploring a little bit why we would want to do it. Why would we want to create relationships online? So any thoughts around that, you guys?
First question is, what kind of relationships are we talking about?
Well, this is a mastermind, being your own CEO from that context.
Okay. It depends on how you want to build your brand. I mean, one of the things that I've been learning about recently is if you really want to take your business into the stratosphere, or really want to build it in a big way, you have to start building community online. And there are a number of different tools for doing that, but one of them which came my way recently was an article by Kissmetrics. And one of the ways that it suggested for raising your profile, building community, and also making friends is to join Quora and start answering questions. And I did that. I've been on Quora for a while, but I never used it. And then I started answering questions a couple of days ago, and my rankings in on my blog have started going up. Not a lot, but a little, and enough to know that Quora is starting to make a difference. Beyond that, looking at things like guest blogging and creating relationships that way. But and they're the ones that I'm using right now, like interviewing experts and posting those on my site, and then asking the expert to tweet or Facebook or whatever that interview to their social media. But the whole purpose is to create conversation, to create community.
So what about you, Anthony? Why form relationships online?
Well, I think why form relationships at all? I mean, the same reason, that you form a relationship with anyone, you can form it online. The only difference is that you can have people in your life who you aren't in the same geographical location as, So, like for me, for example, doing coaching, I have clients that I work with now. I have people in Japan and India and Europe, and I wouldn't have access to those if it wasn't for the internet. That being said, I also have a lot of friends online who live in various places. So, I think what the online part of your question refers to is simply the ability to connect with people from different locations, and and one thing that is now available to all of us, and we're doing it right now with this Google Hangout on air, is that we can have a relationship with people that we don't really connect with in the same time, because they can watch our videos or they can watch our Hangouts on air. And I often get emails from people, I'm sure you do too, who have seen my videos on YouTube, and I've never met them, but they're still getting value from what I do, and they give me positive feedback. So I have friends that I've never met personally that send me questions or send me positive feedback. So I just feel like I'm expanding my positive circle of acquaintances worldwide.
So expanding your reach, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But I just want to go back to, I hear both of you sort of talking about, you know, edging on that whole marketing piece. But I mean, the concept of creating relationships online, yes, we can find sort of possible clients and also possible partners, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're communicating with people in a relationship sort of situation, then we become a little bit more top of mind. Um, and I heard you both kind of make reference to this sort of obliquely as well. It's an opportunity to, I mean, if we have relationships, there's an opportunity to share what we know and to help others, and opportunities to learn from others. I find that's a big one for me.
Absolutely.
I've learned so much from some of the people that I've connected with online. And I think, Nathan, you may have referred to this one. We, as human beings, we all have a need for community. And especially as solo entrepreneurs, I mean, we go out to networking events and belong to little organizations, etc. But we have this real human need to connect and be a part of something. And I think that forming relationships online helps to take care of that need as well. So yeah, I mean, it's branding, it's marketing, it's connecting with people and being able to share. So now we know why we might want to do it. Let's talk about how we can do it. And I have some observations about that, and I've been hearing. I keep hearing from a lot of people that I've met in some of the networking organizations that I belong to. I feel as though a lot of people don't really get why and how to do this online. And the biggest thing I hear from people is it takes too much time. And there is no question that when we're creating relationships online, it does take time. Absolutely, it does take time. And so it's not the same as just throwing out an advertisement in the newspaper and having people respond. That's sometimes not very well, it's not very timely either. I've heard many people say that you know, what is it, people need to see your adverts how many times before they would even sort of pick up the phone. So it takes time. So I kind of made a list of a few things that I thought would be really a good idea, and this is very basic. And I left it. I'm keeping it very basic because I get these basic questions from people in the face-to-face world. So one of the things that I find that a lot of people don't realize, that the beginning step in creating that relationship online is to simply observe. Go in and see what other people are doing. Listen and watch and pay attention. And the second thing I find is important thing in terms of creating relationships is to ensure that your profile is complete, that your picture's there and all your information is there, and that's true of whether you're speaking about Google Plus or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever platform it is that you want to use. If you don't put information about yourself there so that people can kind of connect with you on some level, I would say that's that kind of very first level of building trust. Nobody's going to trust you if your face isn't there. Nobody's going to trust you if they don't know where you are and what you do, and you know, a little bit about what you're about, etc. So that's one of the very first important things. And of course, some people are very nervous about that. There's a lots in the media about, you know, people, you know, stealing your identity and all of that. But there's a way to do that. There's a way to put things up in such a way that it's not dangerous. It's not something that's going to do you any harm, but it is going to tell the observer a little bit about you and let them sort of feel that first level of trust. So before we go on, how do you folks react to that piece, that first level of trust? Any reactions to that?
Yeah, I have a comment. I think, you know, one of the things about the online world is that we're available to people everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned a minute ago, you know, if it's recorded, if we have something online, whether it's a video or a book or an audio or whatever, then of course it's there permanently, and people can find us, you know, months or years after we posted it, right? So the first thing is simply to put yourself out there. And I believe that, you know, like what you said, in terms of having your profile complete and stuff like that. I don't very often give my phone number out. I mean, I have. I think I have my business phone number on my signature that goes on to my mailing list. You know, so people that subscribe to my blog or my mailing list, they might have access to that. But most of the contact that I get from people is with email, you know. But I think one thing that we're touching on here in some ways is talking about business, you know, creating a business relationship or having people respond. And I don't know about you two, but for me, trying to get people to respond is not easy. I mean, I've got thousands of people that subscribe to my YouTube channel. I've got thousands of people collectively that subscribe to my, you know, Twitter feed or my email newsletters and Facebook and that sort of thing. Most of those people, as far as I can tell, don't pay me any attention whatsoever. Like I can put a message on there and ask for feedback. And I'm always surprised if I might get one person or maybe two people responding. So I think, you know, because there are so many people online and there's so much information online, that people are generally overwhelmed. So even though we have this sort of global reach now, it really comes down to connecting one-on-one with people that resonate with you. You know, resonate with us, right? And so the best way to do that, I think, is just to be as real as you can be, to be as honest as you can be, try and be yourself as much as you can, and hope and expect that at least a couple of those people or a few of those people are going to resonate with your message and will want to get in touch with you if you ask them to and if you make it easy for them to do so.
Well, you know, one of the things that I've noticed is that in order to create a relationship, it requires me to reach out and connect with somebody on an individual basis, and that's done by within Google Plus. It's circling people. Because when you circle somebody, they get the notification and then they can decide whether to circle you back. But it's also true on LinkedIn where you need to invite them to connect with you. But it's not just our putting stuff out and waiting for people to respond. It's connecting with people on a one-on-one basis, and that is online. That's how you do it.
I agree. Yeah, it has to be. It all comes down to a personal connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ultimately, it's that one-on-one connection. As you said, people have to know you, they have to trust you, and they have to be able to communicate with you when they want, right?
Mhm. Nathan, what about you? How are you finding? Do you circle people, and how do you connect with people on an individual basis?
Well, definitely circling people. Like last week, like I sent you a letter yesterday. I don't
Yes,
know if
I
you got it.
received that. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Okay, so that ties in perfectly to what we're talking about today, because last week you had a woman by the name of Kristen Drysdale on, and we connected within your
Hmm.
Hangout, but we also connected afterwards, and we spoke for 2 hours afterwards on a one-on-one Hangout. And she referred me to a whole bunch of people, and as a result of that, I'm going to be in a planning meeting this coming Friday with some people who are running another Hangout to possibly be a guest on their show.
Hmm.
So she directed me to a number of different people,
Hmm.
and that was the first time I've ever done a hangout in that way. It was quite a surprise, and it was I had a sore throat by the end of it. But anyway, but getting back to some of the other information of what you asked about posting information online, I've become a lot more careful about it, and
Hmm.
it's simply because I ran into a very serious problem with a bully, and it was serious enough that I was in contact with the police as well as lawyers as to what to do about it. And the clear message was to limit what I post online in
Hmm.
terms of my contact information. And the other thing was to block all access from, how do I put it? Block the bully in as many ways as I possibly could. And if the person did manage to get something to me, to ignore them in every single way and never engage in any way.
Hmm.
And that's what came up. And then recently, a few days ago, somebody decided to harass me and threaten and bully me on Quora. And initially, I wrote a response, a very carefully worded response, but then I realized afterwards that wasn't the best way of doing it, because one of the problems you can have is if you respond to someone like that, it could create a flame war. And what I did after that is I read the core rules and I blocked this person, deleted the comment, and reported the person to the moderators.
Hmm.
Because in this case, the particular person that was coming after me had an anonymous profile with no picture, no information about her in any particular way, just something sent to me where this person was demeaning me and abusing me and everything else.
Hmm.
And that's something I really don't like. Deliberately hiding. And there are many, from
Hmm.
what I understand, bullies and trolls and so on who deliberately do that, or they'll post a fake profile so you
Hmm.
think it's someone and it's not. It's totally bogus. And you have no way of knowing who's real and who isn't, unless perhaps you talk to them in video chat.
And here's another one that I find is really interesting, is that on my Skype account, every once in a while somebody pops up and wants access, and I think to myself, well, I don't see Skype as a social networking thing, and maybe that person did,
Mm.
but they're and they'll do that with, and when you look at it, go to look and see who they are, there's no information there. And so
Oh,
why would I give someone access to my Skype account if they if they don't give me something to react to? So I guess what you and I are saying, Nathan, is that we do need to be savvy.
yeah,
we need
absolutely.
to we need to be, and I mean, when we're talking about posting information about ourselves so that we can create that first level of trust, it doesn't mean that we need to post a whole lot of personal information. We have to show who we are authentically. We have to find some way to do that.
Hmm.
And but for myself, I don't think I've ever I don't think I've ever really experienced any bullying online. I've found people who wanted to connect in rather interesting ways, and I just delete them. My reaction always is don't react, because people
Yeah.
who do things like that what they want is your reaction. So don't give them what they want.
Yeah, that's ultimately the best response, as
Yeah,
I've discovered. And I
yeah.
remember there was one situation on Facebook where I'd made a couple of friends, one in particular, and then some woman wanted to become friends with me, and I accepted. And then shortly after that, I got a warning from one of my friends saying, um, I noticed that such and such sent you a connection request. Check her account out. You'll find out that there are only men on her account and that she has very few friends. Said, watch this person. She may start sending you porn.
Yeah.
Half an hour later, I started getting porn from this woman. I don't know how I knew that. I guess now that I think about it, she'd probably done the same thing to him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and when that happened, I instantly unfriended her and blocked her, and that was the end of that. I didn't
That's all
respond
you
to
do.
anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all you do.
But
Okay.
on Skype, I've had the same response
Yeah.
from people, dubious circumstances, and I see a photo and I might see a description, and every single case it's always a woman from a foreign country, and I'm going, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Decline.
Well, and I've received a few that I really wondered whether they whether they think of Skype as a social networking thing. I don't think of it that way, and maybe there's a different way of looking at it. But let's get back to this concept of how we create relationships. And I see that. Pardon me for looking over at my screen. I'm not using Comment Tracker today. I guess I should have. I see that Julia Holberg says, through the social sharing, they are allowed to be faceless. I think there is a general feeling that everyone wants our info. I think most try to keep a protective layer around them until they find a reason to trust. It's a process. And Nixon Waglow says, from the standpoint of already established initiative, it is agreeable that such communication is easy to do. However, can you expound on it more so that it is, if it is a new initiative with little to no word of mouth or contacts, basically what are the opportunities to learn from and grow your reach as a solopreneur in a solo business market, as a consultant with no contacts, college student with a consultancy initiative? So basically, what I think I'm hearing here is where do you begin? And that's what I'm trying to get across here. To begin, before you start marketing and all of that, is the place to begin is with relationships. So spending some time in observing and getting to know people on a personal, individual, like maybe I could say an individual level rather than a personal level, because it is a little bit arm's length, and as we pointed up, it does need to be a little bit arm's length, but it needs to be an individual, and so we don't begin to try to do the big things until we have spent the time to create some relationships with people on an individual basis.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. You know, you have to have some boundaries, and of course, boundaries on the internet are a little different style, perhaps, or a little different thing than personal boundaries. But again, I think you need to have a sense of your boundaries. Like, I get friend requests from people from various media, you know, Facebook or Google Plus or whatever. And if I don't know the person, if I don't know why they want to be friends with me or they want to connect with me, then oftentimes usually what I'll do is I'll send them an email or a message and say, why exactly do you want to connect with me? And depending on the answer I get, I'll either agree or not. You know, I turn down a lot more requests than I agree to, simply because I don't see any reason to have people, from all over the place connecting with me or friending me or having access to me when I don't really feel comfortable necessarily connecting with them. I'm going to have to. I have an appointment in a moment. I'm going to have to leave, Lowell Ann. Thanks very much for inviting me to this. I really enjoyed it, and
Right.
it's nice to see you too, Nathan. Haven't seen you for a while.
True.
So I
Has
think,
been a while.
yeah, I think this is a great topic, and kudos to you, Lowell Ann, for having this as a part of your hangout today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining me, Anthony. We'll see you another time, I'm sure.
You will, okay, guaranteed. Thanks.
Okay. Nathan, I can see two of you.
Yeah, something happened. I lost the connection, so I had to rejoin. And now I'm seeing a picture of myself on the lower, and I'm going, I don't know what that's about. Don't know what to do about it either.
Right.
Hold on a second here.
It's quite all right. I was just noticing that I see two of you.
Yeah,
So,
years ago I'd encountered a twin, but I never. Anyway.
So I wanted to continue on this idea, though.
Sure.
So connecting with people on an individual basis, and the way we do that is by circling them or joining or friending them, I think, on Facebook and responding on LinkedIn. I have to say that I have a slightly different approach from what I heard from Anthony a few minutes ago, and the approach that I take, especially here on Google Plus, because Google Plus is a place where you meet people that you have something in common with. And so that's why I was suggesting observing and listening in and watching, etc. I know that especially in the early days when I belonged to Facebook, I used it as a more or less a business kind of thing. But then I began to realize that no, I really wanted to use Facebook to stay connected with old friends that I knew from the north, etc., etc. So I unfriended people that I didn't know. And so I still use that principle for my Facebook account. It's only people that I know. If I don't know them, I don't do anything. But my approach on Google Plus is entirely different because Google Plus has a slightly different approach. It is more about finding people that you have something in common with and connecting with them and I think it's also part of this hangout business. We're able to get to know people and trust them on a slightly greater level. I mean, I talked about the first level of trust by putting things out about ourselves, but the second level of trust is kind of our authenticity. And I think people get a chance to kind of test that out by observing us in a hangout like this today and finding out what that feels like, and where your trust and your authenticity builds. But another really important way to get to know people is to join communities. In Google Plus, there are thousands of communities in there. And so you look for a community that is doing something that you're interested in. And then you observe the rules of the community and join the community and find people that in those communities that are posting things that you resonate with, and then you circle them. So it's a way of getting to know people, and it is also about increasing your reach. Because I think that a lot of people probably don't realize that the people you circle determine what you see in your home feed on Google Plus. So if you find somebody who's doing something that's kind of interesting, then and you circle them, it tells them that you find something about them interesting, and it's you saying you're interested in what they're doing, and you're going to see what they post if you circle them. So that's one way to find people, and you know that those layers, those gradual layers of feeling and building trust. So I think that's another really important thing to grasp is. But I know that on another platform, for example, in my LinkedIn platform, I link with whoever would like to link with me, because I see that as a business marketing place. And so I have all my information up there, but I know that people go to LinkedIn for business purposes, business and job purposes. So I link with whoever would like to link there. So I think it depends on the platform, because they all work a little bit differently, and they all have a slightly different kind of approach. And so the way I handle those is a little different on each one. So what about you, Nathan? Do you what about LinkedIn? Do you link with everybody who wants to link on LinkedIn?
Pretty much. There are some exceptions, like I've seen
Yeah.
I can't think of what those would be in the moment, but most of the time I accept an invitation whenever it comes in.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn I've used for business. I've posted a few articles on there.
Yeah.
I noticed actually that Kristen was looking at my LinkedIn profile the other day and what's the expression? Upvoted some of the articles. Actually, I think she shared them on Google Plus, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is kind of an odd animal. I mean, I have received business from it, and there was one time when, well, only one time actually that I did it, and that was, I mentioned that last time, I think, with a colleague, and both of us were from a similar company, and I wrote to them and said, hi, do you guys have work? And they said yes, and I wound up getting some work. That was the only time I've done it that way, but I have said congratulations to many people who have had new positions and so on. Yeah. And but whenever I get a connection, like one of the things that I do is I respond to them pretty much every time, and I say, thank you for your connection request. How can I be of service to you?
Yeah.
And then just that's the end of it. Most of the time nobody responds, but every now and then somebody does respond.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they have something really useful to offer.
Yeah.
In which case
so
it's like, maybe we should connect.
That point, though. It's the one-on-one, the individual connection.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's and getting into. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just looking at the time. And
we're over. I know it.
We're running over, but there was one last a couple of things that is important for us to not forget to mention, is that and this is regardless of what platform we're working on. So it's one-on-one, but it's also, I mean, it's a give from our perspective, to figure out what can I give to that person, how can I help that person, what can I do to help them further their things. And so that because that's how relationships are in real life, aren't they? It's a give and take, and so when someone links with me, I try to think, well, where could I help that person? What group could I connect with? How can I do that? So being ready to share other people's material as well. I mean, that's a way to help to promote them. And when you do that for people, they're going to come back and do the same for you. And so, and then the last piece that we've kind of implied earlier, but maybe to say, it's also really important to be polite. and to observe the protocols on each one of the sites that we're on, because they're all a little bit different. But to be polite and to not react to in a negative way. It's okay to be controversial, just as Nathan was this week about not being a vegetarian, which I'm still thinking about.
Oh, you noticed it.
Respond.
It was pretty funny. I've had that up for quite a while, and if you read some of the comments, they're quite entertaining. But that whole thing came from a former relationship.
Yeah.
But the first video I posted, I actually received a death threat from it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I'm not joking. I wish I was kidding. But people do some very strange things in the comments. They do stuff that they would never do in real life.
Well, I'm saying, and this is what I'm trying to say, that we need to pay attention to treating people with respect and being polite, and doing it in a way that as though we're meeting them for the first time, and so forth. So I hope I hope that we put out a few ideas here for the folks that are out there watching. And again, I want to actually, somebody just posted something. This is Julie. She says, I first look at someone's profile before I follow them back or follow them to begin with. If I see no area of common interest, I do not connect from my end. I have been a solopreneur for 20 plus years, and I exclude blueheads. Only those who are willing to show themselves will I consider. And thank you, Julie. I couldn't agree more.
What's a bluehead?
A bluehead, when you look when you look in the profiles, you'll see just a blue head where the person has not posted their picture.
Yeah, I don't like that either. And I mean, when we were talking about like relationship sites, dating sites as a case in point, if somebody doesn't have a picture in their, I don't even want to give them the time of day. It's like sometimes somebody would send a message and I'm going, I don't know what you look like. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to post a picture, I'm not interested in connecting.
Well, you wouldn't go to a networking event with a bag on your head.
Some people might.
Well,
if they're from theater sports, maybe.
Yeah. But before we sort of put people down who are in here, as a bluehead, sometimes when I see a bluehead, I look at that and I usually I have a specific circle that I call adders, and I might put them on in that circle. Because from where I sit, they may be just starting out, and they've been just clicking around and just trying things out and haven't really figured it all out yet. So I kind of don't discount them all together, but I keep them in a kind of a separate category so that when they come on and begin to do something, then I might connect with them. And of course, I see people with blue heads also, because I help solo entrepreneurs do things. I see blue heads as possible future clients that I might be able to help become a little bit more facile here. So, Julie says, Mark Traphagen said he does not interact with blue heads or cartoons. Right, and Mark Traphagen is one of the most knowledgeable people on Google+. There's no question. So I'm looking at the time. We are way over, and so I think we're going to close right now. Thank you, Nathan, for joining me, and Anthony, who's departed now, but thanks to him also in case he comes back. And thanks to the people who joined us in the conversation here. And perhaps I've learned something because I have two screens, as you might guess. I'm looking away. next time, perhaps I will try using the comment tracker so I can see them without doing that. I promise I'll do that. So thanks everyone for joining. This is loweland.com. Please, again, visit my new website and go to resources and find that guide to procrastinators. And we'll see you again next week. And so long for now.